Hi, y'all. I made this video as a potential start toward building a framework for the journey we want to go on together. It may not be the perfect framework yet, but it might help us discuss what the right framework is. Let's start by considering what we're working toward together, at least at the high level. What's this journey about? What does personal development mean? When people talk about personal development, it's typically in relation to our aspirations or concerns. We might have something we're worried about or struggling with that we want to overcome, or we might have some sense or vision of our potential to be better or to have a better life. These are all worth working toward, but I wonder if there's even more than that. What if we could level up? What if we could achieve some higher level that transcends our concerns and is better than we can envision at all at this point? Also, what if we're feeling called to make a difference? If this is resonating with you, then it seems like we have two major questions to answer. What are we working toward, and how do we get there? When we're thinking about what we're working toward, we need to ensure that it's worth what we'll have to invest to get there and worth prioritizing over other things that'll be competing for our time and attention. If it isn't worth the investment, then we probably shouldn't be going on the journey. When thinking about how to get there, we need to find the path that's not only reliable but also most efficient. Life is short. We need to make sure everything we're doing is optimizing our time. So let's take a look at the first question. To answer the first question, what we're working toward, we need to consider things like who we are, what's healthy for us, and what we want out of life. The What Do You Want journal is intended to help guide that process. In this journal, we consider who we are, including our stakeholders and our essence, how we work, including what it takes for us to survive and perform reliably and efficiently, and who we could be, including our potential and our aspirations. The journal appendices also list common aspirations and concerns that people typically have. These, these lists are grouped by issues we experience at different levels of humanity, including the individual personal level, the interpersonal level, the group organizational level, and the society humanity level. And perusing these lists can help you identify aspirations or concerns that you might not have thought of otherwise, which is helpful when you want to identify what's really important to you. So now let's look at the second question: how do we get there? And I found some insight on this question in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, especially if we assume that the ultimate goal of personal development is to self actualize or get the most out of our lives. We struggle even to find time to devote to our personal development, so we rarely get very far. We need to find the most efficient path to getting the most out of our lives. A key premise behind Maslow's hierarchy is that you can't reach the higher level needs like self esteem and getting the most out of life if you're struggling with lower level needs like food and safety. We tend to think that focusing on personal development is the best path toward getting the most out of life. While personal development can help with the self esteem and self actualization, it falls short of fulfilling our lower level needs, so we get stuck and give up. We spend most of our lives focusing on the more tangible areas like jobs or careers, which can take care of those lower level needs, but tends not to help much with higher level needs. Focusing on our communities and families can help with our needs for love and esteem, but doesn't help as well with the lower level needs. And when we focus only on these more tangible areas like career and family, we typically still never really fulfill our own lives. Moreover, without personal development, we don't even get very far with our careers and families. If we can start with personal development, we get better at everything else, including building stronger societies and economies. But if our personal development doesn't immediately make us better at career and family, we'll never reach the top. We need to find the capabilities that move us up all of these areas. As I've explained in the other videos, our biggest leverage point toward gaining these capabilities is learning to learn. As the videos attempt to demonstrate, becoming a better learner helps you become yourself and develop your natural gracefulness, which then naturally helps you be more effective with others and make differences. As you can see, learning provides the most effective foundation toward the personal development and leadership capabilities necessary for successful careers and family lives. If we embrace learning, it'll help us rethink major questions such as who we are, what we think we know, what life is like, what's healthy and mature for each of us and all of us, how we interact and relate, and the purpose of life. Rather than being stuck in the problems that seem unsolvable, we'd transcend those problems and move to a much higher level. We'll have to rethink everything, including the definition of learning itself. For example, we need to rethink what we mean by personal development. We typically view things like personal development, leadership development, our aspirations, and making real differences as separate things, maybe with a little overlap. We spend most of our learning on career development, which focuses mostly on leadership development, technical functional skills, and business skills. The way it really works is that all these areas overlap and are in many ways the same thing. As we mentioned before, if we start with personal development, we become more effective at leadership development and at making differences. I don't have perfect answers to these questions, but I can offer lots of thought and research into science and philosophy, especially how we get the most out of our lives, business and leadership to build strong careers and make differences in organizations and societies, and processes to help us find the better answers to our questions. I'm also an experienced facilitator to help guide the process, and if nothing else, I've been working around in the field for a while, or in the working world for a while. So I have lots of thoughts on how we might structure this journey. And with your input, I think we can learn a lot about how we can get the most out of our lives. Now, we can talk more about how we can learn together as we get into the process, but here are some starting thoughts about your role. For example, first, I hope you can stick with the process. Find a reason that's important enough for you to commit, even if we're fumbling a bit to find the optimal process. If you're struggling to stick with the process, let's talk about it. Second, support each other, such as by creating a psychologically safe environment and by helping each other to grow. And third, provide input and feedback to each other and to me so that we can optimize ourselves and the process. And here are some additional thoughts that you can read on your own. Thanks, and I look forward to starting the process with you.